Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new LP that I'm doing on the Wii called Blob. We're gonna go make a new file. Gonna call the file simply DGZ from me, DeoGenZ. I'm your host, if you're just tuning into this channel, which you very well might be. You very well might be. So, let's hit the story mode, starting out at Last Resort. And I'm feeling in a funky mood. Oh, I'm so excited. So excited to start playing this game again. A lot of you probably don't even know what this is, because I don't think the Blob really got that much press. But like I said, it's a game for the Wii, so it's still viable on all those new Wii U systems that everybody's not buying. But if you happen to pick one up, and you're looking for a game in the meantime, waiting for new titles to come out, this is the game to get. What I like about this game is it's super accessible to everyone. It's a platformer, but it's a platformer with some interesting mechanics to it, some interesting caveats and different modes of platforming. Maybe not modes of platforming, the better term would be mechanisms of platforming. What happens, by example, when we run into something? The idea is that we're a giant paint blob, and as you saw from the opening cinematic, the world has been grayified, and all the lush color has been taken out of the Blob's world by the Gradians. I think that's what they're called, right? The Gradians? The gray dudes who are evil. The Inked Corporation, that's what it is. Gradians are what the townspeople are turned into when they have all the life and color sucked out of them. And we'll probably see some Gradians after we... maybe not here. But once we get into town, we'll probably see more Gradians. They pop out of their houses once you color their entire city block or a segment of their housing. So the idea here is not just to get through the level. The idea of this platformer is to paint. To paint wherever your body drags over, and to bring life and color back to this world that had it devoid by the Inked Corporation. Just to show you, kiddies, corporations are never any good. Although, of course, I'm sure my economics teacher would disagree with that. He needs to play this game! He has no idea the disastrous, horrid things that corporations can do, like suck the life out of any environment that they're in, which it's actually kind of a literal translation of what real corporations do whenever they find a resource. But the resource in this world is color. So the way that you reclaim color is by taking these challenges, for example, and doing as instructed. Now they speak some kind of Animal Crossing-esque language that you'll never be able to encode, so just go ahead and read whatever the challenge is. But if you don't even want to do that, usually the buildings are nearby. Oh, and here's some Gradians. These are the eggshell captured until you run into them with your colorful, jazzy moods. Eggshell covered Radians that turn into Gradians when they have the life sucked out of them and they're set to work for the Inked Corporation. Further correlation into how corporations will, man, too much shuns, but how they will suck the life out of you, quite literally. Quite literally. they will absorb your willpower. Another important mechanism in this game is not just running into those paint dispensers that are responsible for originally sucking out the color of this world. Interestingly enough, they're not looking towards taking back the color once you put it out there, so they'll remain full every time, and they will regenerate. So if you run into one, don't worry, it's not gone forever. If you need more paint, you can come back to it. But since there's only the three primary colors of blue, red, and yellow, in order to get colors like green and orange and purple, you're going to have to mix your colors. So if you've never had an art class, no worries, we'll go through what colors mix to get what combinations that you need, because some of the challenges, especially the more difficult challenges as we progress through this game, will ask you to do things like make buildings a slew of different colors like green, red, purple, blue, orange, and sometimes if they ask you to do multiple colors like that, where it takes transitionary combinations of colors like that, red and yellow, if you didn't know, makes orange, they'll usually have them in a good arrangement. They'll say, alright, paint this row orange, now this row red, and oh, by the way, here is a red paint bot that you can run into on your way there, so you don't have to look all over the world trying to find the red paint to get these buildings all filled out. Now, what's the benefit of painting the entire world, you may wonder, other than just getting points and other than getting a high score at the end of the level, is to rejuvenate the life. Really, it's to rejuvenate the world. And you'd be surprised how appealing this game gets once you restore the color to it. And liberating the gradients by painting segments of buildings is important to that goal. Because if you aspire to, unlike me, which I won't be doing in this walkthrough, of 100% painting everything in the world, the only way to do that, since you are timed, there's a time clock going right there up the top left-hand corner. It's at 12 minutes and some change, almost 13. And if we keep freeing the gradients, going along and breaking them out of their eggshells, got to make sure every last gradient is broken out of its shell, otherwise they won't give you the boost in time there. Then you can stay in the level a lot longer than the developers would like you to believe. So don't take that time countdown clock as a doomsday clock for ending the level quicker than you would want to. After playing this game for a couple of attempts, I can safely tell you that they give you plenty of time to paint as much as you want. I'm not going for 100%, but if I had wanted to go for 100%, normally when I finish the level, I still have ample amounts of time to do so. So it's up to you. Do you want to get this game and complete every nook and cranny with colors and sounds, by the way? If you haven't noticed, every time we run into a structure, a building, a tree, or something like that, the world gets more musical. Now, of course, the music has just transitioned now because we entered a new segment of the world, a new segment of the last resort, and there's not much color that lasted in this area. Nope, all of it's been absorbed by the evil Inked Corporation, the paint bots, everything that they set up here to deprive the world of gorgeous color, of beauty. So we need to be the heroes here and repaint everything. Yep, that's the compass. Okay, so if you're curious as to where you need to find a specific paint bot, so say you got this blue paint and your task is to paint the buildings purple, and you want to know where the quickest red paint bot is, just hit the A button, or rather hold the A button, because as soon as you take your finger off of it, it will go back to not having the compass up. Just hold down the compass and it will tell you the closest proximity of a red paint bot. And see, that's an example there where the Radiant rather paint girl there asked us to do a couple of colors on buildings, but they're in a row, so it's not too hard to achieve. And the game starts off at a good difficulty level. It doesn't ramp up until the later levels when the enemies get tougher, and that's when the paint challenges will become tougher too. But it's never something that makes you want to throw your Wii remote at the TV, because it's too difficult. If you fail one time, you can try again. And here's a tip for you: if you watch this LP and you get to have a foresight on what the challenges will ask you about, if you go to the challenge zone, so if you go to the buildings that she's going to ask you to paint, and you paint them exactly as she has to her specifications, then you go talk to her. She'll go ahead and just give you a time clock to give you extra time in the world without asking you to do the challenge over again with a time limit. So that's a nice way to kind of trick the system into giving you more time than you would think is able to be obtained because of the stop timer. You know, whenever I see a timer on a game, I tend not to like it. But this is an exception for me. Look, just by painting a couple extra buildings, we went from 12, 13 minutes around there to 16. So we're building up our minutes rather fast, and by the end you'll see we have more than enough to do everything that we wish to. And the way that you jump in this game is probably my main complaint. The jump is executed with a flick of the Wii Remote, so yes, there is some waggle control to be had in this game. And it doesn't really seem like it would be that big a deal. Like, okay, you're controlling this giant blob of paint. I guess it makes sense that you would flick the paintball up to go across gaps. It's not a broken platforming mechanic. You know, Blob has a good method of jumping around, and also Blob's body is sticky too. So if you stick to a wall, it's not over there, folks. Oh no. You stick to a wall and then flick again, and you can start to do wall jumps from one wall to the next. He is sticky in the way that he will eventually slide off of the wall like that, but that little amount of stickability that you have, you can use to navigate narrow corridors that you can flick back and forth between. The real trouble in this jump flick mechanic comes when you have to fight enemies. Enemies are dealt by smashing them with your massive paint body. You can only do it when you have paint, so don't go after any enemies without some paint loaded into you. You can't be a invisiblob, as I like to call it, a blank canvas blob, and expect to attack any of the enemies. At least I don't think you can. Well, we'll talk about enemies and the mechanics that they hold when they come along, but for now I think we've reached a good time, and this was a good introduction into the Blob. Hope you guys tune in more often, and be sure to comment on what you think of the game so far. See you next time.